everyone to another another episode of Beyond Binary. And I'm Shreya, and that's Akanksha, and we are your hosts for today. So, to sum up what happened in previous episodes, we had Aishika, who spoke about campus ambassador programs, and we had Aditya, who spoke about developer relations. Yeah.
In today's episode, we have Vaishnavi Dwivedi with us, who is founder of Michi Spotlight. She is also GitHub field expert and dev advocate at Scalar. Let us welcome Vaishnavi with us today to explore UI UX with us. Hello, Vaishnavi. How are you doing?
Hi, Vaishnavi.
Hi, I'm
How are
good.
you
I'm
doing?
good. I'm doing all right. Yeah, just came back from college and it's been not that great, but yeah, I mean, I'm doing good personally. How about you?
We're doing great too. I
Great,
literally
great.
came back
Just came from
from
college
gym.
too.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. So let's start. So I know you get asked this a lot, but would you like to tell us what UIUX is again?
Right. So the thing is that a lot of people, if I just try to give you a definition now, a lot of people on a lot of designers especially they have like several notions about UI UX and everything associated with it. So in my opinion, I would say that it's kind of like like if you just break it down, UI UX as a term itself is more like of a marketing tactic. I would say how people say that you get a roadmap for DSA so that you can crack like fan companies and things like that. So UI UX is sort of like a marketing sort of a thing that people use, because whenever they say UI UX instead of like UX design or UX research or something like that, then people get like then they get more engagement and things on their content. But just to sort of make it clear, like UX is user experience, like we know, and UI is user interface. So UX is a very broad field. It has so many different things, even backend. Like if you talk about APIs and API calls and requests and everything, API response time should be under a certain limit. So that is a part of the user experience, right? Even right from like everything that you read on a screen, and then like just the designs and the aesthetics and everything. I would say that UX is a very big and broad field, and it can't exactly be justified. So it's probably very
Right.
similar, if not the same, very similar to, I would say, like AI or artificial intelligence. Similar as in like it's a broad field. Like AI is also a very broad field, and there's machine learning inside of it, there's deep learning inside of it. A lot of people don't understand most of it. So the same thing happens in UX as well. A lot of people don't understand half of the things that are there in
Right.
UX. So within UX itself, like there's UX design and UI designing, which is usually known as interaction design or visual design. So that is basically you using Figma or any other tools to create visual sort of images and like interfaces for applications, different kinds of applications, mobile, web, watches. These days, like there are so many different appliances, TVs, and there are different sort of appliances where softwares are used. So for that, those kind of like designers, they sort of design for every single interface, and there's a lot of things going on over there. And within UX, if you're talking, there's so many different fields within UX research, where we try to understand who the user is, try to understand their pain points, the things that they are passionate about, their goals in life, a lot of things. We create personas so that we can empathize with the user, so that we can walk in their shoes. Because a lot of times what happens is that as a creator or as a builder, when we're creating an application, we feel too connected to it, and we don't see the criticism, we don't see where it could go wrong or the obstacles that another person can probably face. So those kind of things
Right.
are very easily met through UX research. I mean, people identify these obstacles. People identify what are the pain points in the user journey, things like that. And then there's UX writing, the copy that you see on. So basically, if let's just say that Swiggy is not working, and there's no internet, so they usually say something like, oops, something went wrong, our best minds are on it, right? Even
Right.
for that single text, there are like a few people who take care of those things, especially in the big companies. They have to be very careful of the wording, because words matter a lot, and they contribute a lot to the user experience as well. So, I mean, these are just few examples of the very broad field. I just wanted to take some time to explain this clearly to everyone, so that you can have an idea that this is not just about opening Figma and designing wireframes on Figma. A
Yeah.
lot of people underestimate UI UX. They think कि हाँ design तो यार कोई भी कर लेगा, we can, it's not a big deal, right? I mean,
Right, right.
I'd rather code, I'd rather do more cool stuff, feel like a hacker person, you know. But yeah, the thing is that there's a lot of thought processes. So, I mean, if you want to think about it clearly, it's the relationship between a software and a human, a person or a user, like whoever it is on the other end, and like the software. So basically, just a collaborative relationship between the two, and how they interact with each other, communicate with each other. It's all about that. So, I mean, just to sort of oversimplify it in a bit, that's what UI UX is. So,
All right, that's a very good way to put it. Since you've talked about UI UX now, so I'd like to ask you, why does it matter? Like, what kind of an impact does UI UX does? Like, yeah,
right. So, like I said, a lot of things depend. So when you're building something, let's say an application or something like that, then you need some sort of due diligence on it. So maybe your technology is amazing, right? And you have created probably the most well engineered with the best infrastructure. You've created an application, or like a mobile application, something like that. But if you've not identified what problem it is solving, or who is it solving for, right? Those kind of things matter a lot. And even when it comes to the visual part of things, be it visual or the features itself could be like brainstormed with the help of UX research. But when it comes to the visual component as well, if we can identify who the user is, it's quite easy to sort of like understand how we want to, what kind of direction you want to take. So let's just take an example here. If you go to kids website, all the colors and everything are like the very poppy, and like it's very colorful and
correct.
very kiddish, right? And
Attractive.
the
Mm,
font is also very playful and stuff like that. But if you just go to cred, right, and it's just so elegant and minimalistic and things like that. So
yeah,
even though it's made for more for like adults who are like who want to be more let's say mindful about their credit card habits and things like that. They just want to be mindful of everything that's going on money wise. So that's the thing, that a lot of there are a lot of applications with different purposes, and there are different ways to design them. Same thing goes for like if let's just say that there's a mental health application, it will have to have like some sort of calming effect on you. Or even if you look at the logos of different companies like Facebook, Twitter, and all of these are like blue. So a lot of color psychology is at play over there. A lot of people they associate a certain colors with a certain effect. Usually, people think that blue has a calming effect. So the thing is that all of these things are a part of the visual component, and that comes under the UX design part, and that is like the visual part. But when it comes to research, if you want to make sure in today's world, especially like if today I'm going to start a startup, I need a very strong word of mouth, and that is only possible if people find the user experience seamless.
nice.
Because
Yes,
today people are used to using applications like Instagram, Twitter, and take all social media applications and all the applications that have been, even GitHub, if you see, not the mobile app, but like the actual website, if you see. all of these websites have taken iterations, like to get to the
Yes.
level that they are right now. So if
Right.
I start today, how do I reach their level? So that needs a lot of research, that needs a lot of due diligence, and for that, I think, but see, the thing is that for us the advantage is ki, most of the, so basically Spotify is most, I think, one of the most well designed, very seamless user experience for the app as well as anywhere, like the application software anywhere. So I would say that they've also created blogs, and they've also documented their journey on how they iterated through the trends of different things. So I would say that UX matters a lot because it definitely helps startups and companies these days to drive success, especially if they are like a product software product based companies, right? So that's very important, and I think a lot of people should sort of understand this thing, that obviously we're talking about like digital products here, like not the ones that are not perfume bottles, but just like digital products that have interfaces, that have some sort of software at play. So yeah, I mean, that's why it kind of matters there. And a lot of people think that it's all about wireframing and stuff, but it's kind of very much beyond that, and I think we'll discover it in much more detail in this session as well. So yeah.
All right. Yep. So we talked about like how things are designed in a certain way. You talked about color theory, right? So since design is such a subjective topic, right? I mean, there like it's very subjective. Like what you might like, not the other person might not like that.
Yeah.
So what are some guidelines like one should follow, like one should keep in mind to make better designs? What are your I mean, what do you suggest?
So I would say that there, like I said, over the years, different companies and different sort of people have documented their journey when they iterated over different versions of the same product. If you see the UI of GitHub from, like, I think 10 years back, I think, yeah, it's 10 years back, it was not as good as it is right now, right? Because
Mhm. Yeah.
over time, but at that point, even so, let's not take GitHub as an example. Let's just take Facebook, because Facebook has changed a lot over the years. When we used to use Facebook, it was very, very different. Now it's like very modern looking website, but at the time, at least when I used to use Facebook back in 2014, it was very different. And when Mark Zuckerberg had actually initially launched it, it was very, very different, because obviously, what can you expect from a coder? Like, they, they won't be able to like come up with the best, visual aesthetics and
Design.
user
Right.
experience and everything. User experience, I'm sure that they would have worked on, because a lot of it was also associated with the backend. But the thing is that as the users get more familiar with technology, that's how we start iterating. So I would say that design, like you said, it's subjective, right? But the thing is now, when it comes to graphic design or something like that, obviously over there everything's very, very subjective, and it totally depends on your perception on how you judge things. But over
Yeah.
here, when it comes to UX design, it's not about how it looks. It's not about the design
How it
at all. It's
feels.
about how the user is perceiving it, and how, like, if the user does not like it, it's shit. Okay, you can't do anything about it, even if it's the most beautifully designed application that anyone has ever seen. Even then, if the user does not know how to perform that one action that this application is made for. So if I couldn't go, if went to Spotify but I can't play any songs, or I can't stream music, then that it's not like, then the user experience is not good, right? Because I can't do
Yeah.
the simple one thing that application is meant for.
Meant for.
So the thing is that it's all about being able to help the user navigate through your application, and help the user solve a certain problem, maybe in their life or whatever they're facing personally, through this application, right? So that's how people start brainstorming certain ideas, right? So why was Spotify made? it was made because mostly like people did not have better streaming services, like maybe on their phones. There was Apple Music on Apple, but it was very very costly.
Right.
But Spotify had like a much superior user experience. You could easily navigate through things. But obviously, initially also, even if the design was very good, if the backend is glitchy or if the functions are not happening properly, even that is a sort of a bad thing for the user experience itself, right? So user experience is usually a package of everything that the application has to offer, that the software has to offer. So, I mean, I usually ask people to look at it that way, but yeah, I mean, it is subjective, but it's all about the user. So, you have to think from the perspective of the user, and then you need to design things.
That's a very wonderful
Nice.
answer.
So, in later in this era where everybody likes to just code, how did you get into UI UX?
Right. So basically, initially, I was a software engineer only. I did full stack. So I used to do front end and back end. I was not very good at it, but I did that. I was not very good at back end, but I did back end because like it felt fun and everything, but it wasn't like I didn't feel like this is like what I should be doing for some reason.
Right,
And
right.
it might be the bugs, it might be the things that I was not able to do, or the obstacles or whatever it is. But I just thought that this is not something for me, and I've always been creative, and I think since 2018 I've been involved in like UX design. I used to treat it like very chindi thing, because obviously we think that UX design is not that big of a deal. And I used to like make wireframes. When I look back at my 2018 wireframes, I just it gives me a headache because it's so bad. I was a coder. I was a proper coder, and I was trying to design. I was trying to do something, and that obviously is completely out of the area of my expertise. And then I was completely, messing it up because I had no idea. And at that point, I used to think, wow, this is so beautiful and all that, but it wasn't actually very effective. So what I would say is that it takes a lot of time to sort of get used to the things. I think it's very important to have a very good sense of visual design if you want to be like good at UI UX. But I mean, when it comes to UX research per se, you have to be more empathetic. Like empathy is a much more important skill when it comes to UX research. So because you have to connect with the user, you have to advocate for the user as well, and make sure that their needs are being fulfilled in the entire journey of the application. So I would say that these things could be sort of put together, and I think that would be a better way to look at it. So yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Since you talked about how UI and UX, like there are different skill sets, right? You're saying, so what kind of skill sets are needed for UI that are like totally not needed for UX, and like can you like differentiate between basically
Right.
the skill sets?
See, it's I think, see, skills can be learned. Anyone can learn Figma after like practicing copying designs from Behance or Dribble or something. You can just like learn how to use Figma. You can learn how to use the tools, and it is not a small feat. Like it's a very difficult thing. A lot of people say that tools don't matter and all that. I'm sure it doesn't matter for you because you've been doing it for a very, very long time. That's why you're saying that. But for newbies, like very new people, it does matter because they get very frustrated initially because they don't understand the tooling. So I would say that take your time, understand the tooling, and then obviously parallelly you can start learning different things. So for visual design and interaction design, I think a good sense of visual design is very important. Like topics like typography, like the font size and the things like about fonts and stuff. Like how do you want to place the text, and how do you want to align it, how you want to size it, things like that. And basically, what kind of shade of what shade of color like, so basically if you go to the material design guide, it's a good starting point to understand how a design system, or like how exactly designers go about sort of determining different
Design.
things like typography and things like that. So there are obviously certain guidelines in place, because the thing is that I think you even asked this earlier, that the subjectivity of UX design. I think there are a lot of things that users are familiar with. If today I make an application which is completely different than any other applications on the Play Store, the user won't understand how to navigate through it. The reason we are able to navigate through any new application that we install is because it's very similar to the at least the layout is very similar to
It
the
feels very
usual
homely.
application. Yeah, exactly. So it has to be like, it has to has to have some sort of commonalities between like the guidelines that have been set. So some sort of commonalities. If you compare Zomato and Swiggy, obviously, in my opinion, I feel that a Swiggy application has a much superior
Better.
UI. I won't say, I won't comment on the user experience, but the UI is kind of superior in that way. But both of them are very very similar, right? I mean, both of
Yeah.
them have very similar features, even though like
Functionalities.
I mean, the layout is kind of similar only, but that's the thing that that's kind of the difference. So you can play around with a lot of things, but when you are limited to limited to certain guidelines, you get to be more creative in that way. Because if you can just do anything, then that is a little bit not that important. Like
Infinite.
you won't be able to. Yeah, exactly. Then there are so many permutations and combinations that you will get so confused, and you will end up doing
Yeah.
nothing. You'll just brainstorm, and that would be the end of it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of how it goes. But yeah, but when it comes to like skills for UX research, I think you have to be a bit more analytical in that. You need to understand how to first of all, like, talk to people, understand their problems, be empathetic. And I think there's this book called The Mom Test. A lot of product managers and like people who conduct customer interviews for products and stuff, they usually read this book. But I think it helps you to understand what kind of questions you can ask to another person to get feedback on your product. So there are several books like this, and you can try to understand the psychology behind everything that you do. Even the smallest of things inside of a digital application have a lot of impact on a user. Even if you move the
Right.
button from one place to another, it will have a lot of psychological impact. So if
Right. Right.
Instagram changes its DM ka icon from here to maybe somewhere in the bottom, then you will just go crazy because you're
Yeah.
habitual
Muscle
to.
memory.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's sort of it. I mean, when it comes to skills, there are no skills as such, but I mean, obviously there are skills, but it's more of like you need to develop a mindset. You can't just learn UX design in like a few days or something. You have to give it a lot of time. Like,
Mm.
I mean, you can't just say that okay, after doing a course, you can't just say that I'm a UX designer. You have to
Yeah.
evolve throughout, like through a few
The
years only,
process.
then you can become a seasoned designer. Once you get some sort of experience, you talk to different people, you seek some mentorship, things like that. But yeah, I hope that sort of helps.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, like for the beginners, what makes a good UX profile, like portfolio, as a beginner?
I would say that so UX portfolio is a very kind of a tricky thing because it sort of matters for a lot of people. First of all, you need to define why are you making a UX portfolio. Either you want it for a job or you want to apply for a master's degree in maybe HCI or some other course related to UX. So either it's that, or you just creating a portfolio because it's fun and you want to create a website and you just want to showcase your work to people, or you want to get some sort of freelancing gigs or things like that. So there are a lot of reasons why people sort of make these portfolios. But I think the one thing that matters most is, so a lot of people do it for jobs, obviously, because they want to showcase their work and get a permanent job and like get a good salary and things like that. But I would say that you know I mean, when it comes to taking, like, making a portfolio for a job profile or something like that, it's important for you to like um, be more sort of mindful of where you're applying, because so a lot of people, there are two types of portfolio. So one is like a PDF portfolio, another is more of a website sort of a
Website.
thing. So if you're making a website, then it's pretty much generic only. You're gonna be sending the same thing everywhere. But for a PDF portfolio, you can customize it for different companies if you want. You can use their brand colors, things like that. Or you can, like, if you don't want to do that, and if you have a website, which is probably most of the times it's preferable. So if you have a website, you can do a case study on the company that you're applying to, maybe like, an additional feature, or like, something that they maybe have been coming up with or something like that, and how you would redesign the application for that feature, things like that. So you can do a case study on their sort of the company's product or something. And then while doing your interview, or even for while asking for a referral or just applying only, you can like showcase that. And you can, your interview could be about that entire project only, so it could be easier for you because you are taking control of what is to be discussed during an interview. And it really helps you to sort of stand out as well from different people, because they know that you at least have done some sort of research into the product that they've been building, and you have good insights. So I think for a beginner, I would say that if you're not applying for any jobs, or if you're just like just getting started, I would say don't make a UX portfolio just yet. Practice for like at least 6 months before making a portfolio. I mean, I totally agree that a lot of people want a job immediately, or they want an internship, and in internships you have to make a portfolio. In my opinion, you can make you can make a simple Notion page, and you can just list down your projects and link them to wherever you've created the portfolio, whatever. Or you can have like a simple portfolio website only. But the only problem that has is ki most of the beginner projects now, the ones that you pick up in the very beginning, could be a bit mediocre when it comes to like job level portfolios and UX case studies and things like that. So it could be like, it won't be your best work, because your work improves as in when you start learning more and more. So, in my opinion, your earlier work should stay with you only, instead of like, obviously, you can get feedback from different people. If you want that, you can do that. But actually showcasing it on a website, it might be a bit tricky, in my opinion. You can like post a screenshot, like a lot of people do this, that they post screenshots and stuff. You can also make a proper like a link with all the explanations and things like that, like a on Figma itself you can make, and then you can just navigate people to the Figma file itself. You can also learn how to just put together a project on a portfolio. But in my opinion, as a beginner, you shouldn't spend time on that. You should spend time more on learning the tooling, or you want to learn more about the skills, learn as much as you can about visual design, and how to conduct research and things like that. So I think that would be more helpful than having a portfolio. But if you're after a job, then I think I would say that you should need to wait at least like for 2 to 3 months at least. But yeah, that's a good sort of. I mean, obviously, take it with a pinch of salt. A lot of people are different in that respect, but yeah, I hope that sort of helps. Yeah.
Yep. Also,
Yeah.
so
We have some comments. Somebody's asking about your black glass goggles.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have them here, right here. We can
ooh,
pair them if you want.
you can take a screenshot.
Yeah.
All right, they look so cool.
Yeah, like I mean, I wear them on my show on Get Up Education. So yeah. Ooh,
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a question like UX is like getting UI done alongside with sitemap.
which site, na? I did not understand the question, honestly.
Okay.
Mm,
Let's see. I think also there's Ashwin has commented that just put pop-ins everywhere. So yeah, I mean that's a very common thing, especially among developers, because they think that if they just code it in pop-ins or like create a website or using pop-ins, it will automatically look good, which is true. But now it's so overused that but see, the thing is that it's not so simple when it comes to typography. You have to learn how to align things and what kind of size is perfect for the font, and like how do you want to space the letters and everything, like the line height and things like that. Even the smallest things matter a lot in the whole grand scheme of things. So in my opinion, that's not a very good tactic to use pop-ins everywhere, because like I said, every context is different. If you're using pop-ins for a kid's application, then it would not look good, because the kid will not understand what your application is about. But if it's like all funky and all, then it'll be much
there
better.
poppins. Yeah.
So yeah. Okay,
Yep.
so I think they asked this sitemap is equal to the whole
The
navigation of a
competition.
site, like moving from one page to another, buttons and all. I think sitemap is sitemap is not that comprehensive. It's just like a very bare bones sort of outline of how, like, where every page is. I don't think it includes the buttons and stuff, but I think, see, the thing is that it's, if you're asking this question, that okay, I think your previous question was that UX is like getting UI done alongside with sitemap. I still don't understand your question honestly, but like you choose colors by opposite or some triads, or just go with
Yes.
the flow. See, I honestly don't understand your question, but I'll just say this, that it's not as simple. You can't oversimplify UX. You have to sort of understand the depth. Only then you will recognize the potential and what all you can do with the knowledge of UX, and like knowledge about uh, improving the user experience. Knowledge of UX is not important. Knowledge of how you can improve the user experience of a user for your application is more important. So, in my opinion, I think when it comes to colors and typography and everything, and choosing all of that, it should, I mean, you should be able to spend some time on that, because it is important and it has a lot of impact on how your application will turn out to be. So, in my opinion, you should make sure that your planning is correct. You have like a mini design system of sort, if not like a whole comprehensive design system, just like primary and secondary colors that you want to use in your application, what fonts you want to use, and you can refer to the material design guide to understand how they usually do it. So, like basically for a button text, the font will be different, or like the font size and the lettering would be different, and then for like maybe a title or a heading it will be different. So that's how we sort of have to differentiate, and like what are the the standards and things like that. What are the current trends? A lot of people have started using class morphism, things like that. Neomorphism, people started using some time ago. It doesn't look very nice, but so if you do it right, then obviously it looks very smooth and all. But yeah, I mean, totally depends on how you implement things. And but the most important part is the planning as well, choosing the right colors and choosing the right sort of map for it. So yeah.
All right. So we have a question in the
Uh,
comments which
how would
says, how would you recommend a beginner who's interested in UI UX? Um, I am actually a total beginner to coding too, but I am really, really interested in UI UX too.
So UI UX does not require any coding, but it is a good to have, like to learn a bit of HTML and CSS at least. If you can also learn JavaScript, you know how to build a website, so you will not be dependent on a developer to create any websites if you want to create some. And there are also a lot of no code tools, so you can use them like Webflow and Wix and all. So you don't have to worry about that. But see, I would just say that if you're finding coding difficult and that is why you're choosing UI UX, that is not the right
Yeah.
way to think about things. Yeah, I don't want to do coding, so I'll just do UI UX. I'll just still be in the industry, and it'll be nice. I'll get to work at big companies. And see, the thing is that if you want to succeed in any field, you have to be genuinely, curious about it. And if you're
Interested.
just choosing it for the sake of staying in the tech industry or something like that, and you don't want to do coding, then it won't work. Especially if your heart's not in it, and you need to be able to respect your own work. You need to be able to like have some sort of tangible outcomes to your work as well. So I think a lot of people, what they think is ki, I shouldn't like I mean like I am a UX designer and things, but I'm also a coder and I'm also like doing this and that and whatnot. So they think ki, UX is just a style track thing, and I used to be one of them. Like I mean, I still call myself like full stack product designer, but it's more like ki, I know coding. That then I jumped to UI UX, not because I did not want to do coding, but because I'm more interested in learning more about a user and the whole user psychology cycle, because it's better suited for my skills. So I would say that it was a choice because I was better suited for that instead of like just sitting behind a computer solving algorithmic problems. And I'm not that sharp and bright. I mean, I would like to have more creative side being used for me. So yeah, that's how you choose things. But if you just like if you're genuinely interested, like you said that I'm really interested in UI UX, then what you can do is that there are different things that you can get started with. You can first start by following all the people on Twitter, like from design Twitter, and you just learn from them. And there's this platform called ADP List. So what they do is they provide you mentorship. If you need to like if you, let's say you want to get feedback on your work or anything like that, or just in general you want a mentor who can guide you in some ways how to get started, or not actually not how to get started, because they don't they don't usually tell you how to get started, because you have to get started on your own in some
Right.
ways. But once you have done some sort of work, some amount of work, then and like you're familiar with the tooling and everything and the basics of everything, then you can approach the mentors and try to learn more of how you can apply these basic skills into the industry, how you can grow yourself to become a much more matured UI UX designer or UX designer. So you can try out that platform if you're interested. But yeah, I mean, I hope that sort of like is helpful, because I mean, a lot of people, they, especially developers, they ask me this question, and I get a bit annoyed at times because they're usually looking for an out from coding. But that shouldn't be your motive. That's all I'm saying.
All right. That's
Okay,
nice.
so somebody is asking what is the right time to start learning UI UX, like parallelly with front end or after completing front end.
Oh, like that. Okay. Um, I wouldn't say to, I wouldn't ask you to learn anything parallelly. So, okay, there's one way that can work. So there's this basic design course on Udemy. It's like 1 hour or 2 hours का course, or 30 minutes. I'm not really sure. I think it's by Jonas or someone, but it's called Web Design Fundamentals or something like that, and it's like a very small course. You can complete it within an hour. Okay, what it does is they tell you very basics of web design, that how to align things, how to like properly create a website and things like that. So if you want to learn front end, you can, before learning front end, you can learn web design, a very basics of web design. Then start with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever you wanna, wherever you wanna go to. And just before starting, like maybe like I would say that either you can with that knowledge, that much knowledge is sufficient for a coder. But if you want to also have like a good knowledge of UX, after you are like a bit experienced, or like you have some sort of expertise in websites, you've created a couple of websites, and you know some sort of JavaScript frameworks, and you know how to use them. Once you have that sort of skills, then you can probably delve a bit into UX and try to understand how you can better improve. You can talk to a few product designers. Maybe if you're working at a company, you can talk to the product designers or product managers at your company. So you can like understand what the, like how, what a good user experience looks like, and like just sort of work on your own skills. But I think the web design course will be more than enough, because a lot of people, what they do is they make very shabby websites with CSS. So if you have some design sense, at least, like if not design sense also, like just if you just know what font size should a heading be, or what font size should a body be, and how
That
long
feels
should
right.
it be across the screen, exactly. So if, I mean, if you just know that much, I think that will be more than enough for you if you just want to be a coder. But if not, then you can talk to more people and learn more about it.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
as you talked about like taking feedback from the site where the people give you feedback. So I want to ask you how important is learning in public is, and like to take feedbacks.
So learning in public, especially for UI/UX, could be a bit challenging, because a lot of times, if you're a beginner and you're putting your work out there, there might be a lot of people who are not very supportive, and they'll just bash at you saying, "Ki, Are, what is this? This looks very shabby, and you don't know what you're doing." So then you might get demotivated. So I would say that, like I said, initially as a beginner, maybe find a few people who can help you out. If there's no one who's helping you out, you can find like a few servers and communities on Discord or WhatsApp or wherever. You can find a few communities where people like share feedback and all. So you can try that. If that also does not work, then only you go and post your stuff on LinkedIn and Twitter and whatnot platforms. And once you have some sort of expertise, once you are like familiar with the tooling, and you know how to design clean and neat designs, like the UIs, then, and like obviously keeping in mind the user experience also. A lot of times when people start designing, they don't think about the user at all. They just look at a design, they look at a wireframe and see it as a design. They don't see it as
Mm.
a product or an application, they just see it as a design. So avoid that. And once you start avoiding that, and once you're mindful of that, you can start posting it in public, and you can start taking feedback. You can also go to ADP list and just book appointments with mentors, so that they can give you much better feedback, much professional feedback. Because when you build in public, I mean, I'm not against it or anything, but in my opinion, a lot of people will give you a lot of opinions. A lot of people will say that, wow, it looks very amazing, and then you will just get complacent that, wow, I'm a amazing UX designer. That's not usually the case, because you have to be a bit more mindful of how you create things. And there might be people who would be very very picky, who might demotivate you, or might make you complacent. So it totally depends, as you for you as an individual, if you can be objective enough for the feedback. So in my opinion, it's good to have like specialized feedback from mentors, instead of like this kind of feedback, public feedback. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to, if you've created an entire product or a case study or something like that, something that's furnished, then that could be like, that you can put on socials and things like that. And then you can get feedback on it, and it will be much more useful for you. So yeah.
All right, amazing.
Right. So I wanted to ask, like, how do you differentiate between good and bad UX?
Okay, so good and bad UX. Like I said, it's more like about the user. If the user is not able to complete one action that they are supposed to do on an application, then the user experience is bad. If even if the visual experience is not that good, even if if visually it doesn't look the best, I would say it has to look neat and like a little bit clean and stuff, because everyone has different views on visual design. But when it comes to the user experience, it has to like if it
Consistent.
is good, then it has to be like seamless. And if let's say I've created an application for event booking, so a person should be able to go to the app, register themselves, and find themselves an event and register for it, pay for it, get the tickets on their email. And it has to be very smooth so that the user doesn't have to suffer or wait or anything. So that is good UX. Bad UX is whenever there's an obstacle, whenever there's anything bad happening, or like whenever the user is unhappy at which any stage, then it's bad UX. At least that's what I look at it, how I look at it. But yeah, it could be different for different people. UX is a very big sort of a
Yeah.
thing. It could be visual, it could be based on the writing, it could be based on like how it's functioning, like how the backend is functioning, how the features are. There's a lot of things when it comes to UX. So I can't really generalize it, but when we can just generalize it based on the user. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more like UX is gonna be very consistent. Like everyone's gonna be very consistent with how they like it. But UI is more like, subjective when that comes.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
exactly.
All right, cool, cool. So I want to go next with this one. As in, is there a roadmap for when it comes to UX?
There's no roadmap, honestly. It depends on how you want to proceed with it. A lot of people, they do the Google Coursera certificate, and usually people start with that. But I've seen that not a lot of people develop a design sense after it. They think that they have, but they don't, because it takes time to develop that sort of sense.
Right.
Because you have to find inspiration, you have to keep iterating, you have to keep building, you have to keep trying out new things and exploring and just observing things around you and observing other people's work, giving other people feedback. So there's no roadmap as such. You can either do a master's degree, or you can do like a normal Coursera certificate, or you can just learn from your YouTube channel. It's totally up to you. But for now, like we've created 100 days of UX challenge. So over there, like I've sort of try to come up with as much information as possible. So I just try to curate everything in one place so that people can, especially self-taught designers, can easily navigate through different things and like different topics. And obviously after the 100 days is completed, they can choose to like practice more and more. So the whole point of 100 days of UX is that UX design needs practice. So for 100 days, if you're like constantly practicing every single day, only then you will get it. You'll start getting it. So that's sort of how we look at it. And but there are a lot of resources, you might get overwhelmed. So that's why the UX 100 days of UX program is good, because you take everything one day at a time, and we have limited amount of resources
Accountability.
like given for each day. So yeah, and like some challenges that you can complete, and it is more hands-on than passive. A lot of people just keep watching videos and they don't do anything, but a lot of people like are very hands-on, but still they're not up to the mark. So totally depends on a learning style of the person. But yeah, we have a curated list. If you want to see that, you can check that out. It's on, like, if you join the Michi Spotlight Discord server, you might be able to find it.
Yep, amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so
So, Vaishnavi, how was your journey as a UI UX designer?
So, like I said, like in 2018, I made my first wireframes for a startup that I was working at as a developer, Android developer. So they were like, "Ki, arey, we want some sort of wireframes." I was like, I volunteered and I said, "Ki, ha, I know how to make it," even though I did not. And then for 7 hours, I was just trying to figure out how to use this tool. and how to like just get my, because I had never used a tool like that before, and it was very very weird for me. But that's how got started. And then eventually, whenever I had to make a new project or whenever I had to go to a hackathon, always used to use either Adobe XD, and once I discovered Figma, I used to use those tools to sort of create new things and stuff like that for my projects and personal projects, or maybe even like, for the startups that I worked at. So that's how I got my experience, and like, working in product and other things, and like looking at other people's work and doing a lot of bunch of stuff, and then doing sessions like this sort of added to my knowledge and keeping myself updated on this. So I think it has been
Okay.
like it has been a quite a weird journey, not very conventional for most UX designers, but at least like I found my calling. It was late, I mean, at least I think I got very very serious about this in fourth year, because before that only in like first year I thought about UX as a career. But before that, like even in between, I just thought that I'll be a developer, I'll be a software engineer or an AI person or something. But then I thought that this is more me, and this is something that I'm more passionate about. So yeah, I think I can do it much better, especially like with my skill set and everything. So yeah, that's how my journey has been, at least till now.
All right. Amazing.
Yeah. And just like one point on to that, it's just that so I've also applied for like masters in human computer
I was about to
interaction.
talk about that.
Yeah, so
Congrats on getting admitted.
yeah, I did get admitted for HCI, and I mean, I'm still deciding whether to choose it or not. But yeah, like it's a good option for me, because it's gonna like help me learn a bit more, me formalize my education a bit more.
Okay.
Even though it's not required or anything, I'm just more curious about it. I want it for myself. It's not a career move or a strategic move. It's just that I genuinely want to learn more, so that I can maybe like formalize my education and like formalize my knowledge. And more importantly, I can be a bit, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming with everything that you've learned. So it's a bit more organized in that stuff, and more importantly, like even more importantly, I would say that it's like just interacting with a lot of amazing people who've done research into like in these fields. It's kind of an amazing thing, and like the colleges I have applied to are also very good. So I thought that I should give it a shot. But yeah, let's see.
That is amazing. All right. So, yeah. So like getting into like doing your masters and like college and like managing your community and so many other things, so many amazing things that you do. So, how do you do all of that?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me this, like, how do you do so many things? Why do you do so many things? So I just feel that, I mean, I usually do just like two to three things at a time. Almost, uh, almost always, I'm always doing like one thing at a certain point in time. Like right now, I'm only talking in the session. I'm not texting on my phone, or I'm not, writing my assignments right now. But like usually it's just one thing at a time, and that's how I deal with things. Because I mean, I want to do a lot of things, and there's an urge to do everything at once. And I used to do a lot of things, a lot more than this that I'm doing right now. It just feels like it's a lot, because I mean, I have a lot of positions that I need to take care of. So that's the thing,
Yeah.
that GitHub field expert, GitHub this that whatever. And then like there's Figma, and then there is all these campus ambassador programs that you must have learned from Ashika, and like DevRel stuff from Aditya. So there's a lot of things going on.
Right.
But yeah, like I'm just trying to make the most out of the time that I have. That's usually how I look at it, and I just want to make sure that I have some sort of, I can bring people some sort of value. Because things can be good or bad. Usually, people don't care about anyone really. it's a very competitive world, right? And not a lot of people really care about your work or things like that. But at least in the tech community, it has been a very sort of amazing environment. And I've been like enjoying this a lot and just helping other people, providing some sort of value to other people. So I just keep doing whatever I need to do to provide value, and that's sort of everything around it is sort of aligned that way.
Amazing, amazing. All
Yeah.
right. So I would like to ask like another thing that how do you stay consistent in like your UI UX journey, like as a beginner? So
I think once you develop that interest, every day you'd like to open your Figma and like start designing something. You can also try to do like 100 days of daily UI, and there are a lot of Adobe challenges, a lot of different sort of challenges. You can just open like you can allot 1 hour every day to just create something of your own. You can also try have wireframing with your hands so that you just have some sort of idea of how to do things. So I would say that it's all about practice. If you start getting interested in it, it will help you a lot. And just talk to a lot of people, learn from different people, and just keep going. I think that would be the only way, like to be a good UX designer as well as to stay consistent. Do something every day, at least for an hour, maybe half an hour, even that's fine. But do something every day. Don't just don't do it in spurts. Like this is applicable to anything that you do. Like don't do it like, okay, today I'll do UX for like 5 hours, and then maybe next month I'll do it once again. So that's not how it works. You have to do it every day, only then you will get good at it, get better at it. And once you get better at it, now once you people start recognizing your skills, and once people start thinking that, okay, this person actually knows something, or this person actually knows how to create UI, and then we start the offers start rolling in, and maybe like you start applying to jobs. It gets more exciting after that. So initially you just have to
Right.
put in that hard work, but once you get in the flow, it will be much easier. So yeah.
yeah, that is
Right.
amazing. Yeah.
We have a
Right.
question in the comments. What's your favorite tool and why is it Figma?
Yes. That is true. I mean, I am biased because I'm a Figma community advocate. So I am very, very biased on that. Obviously, Figma is the best tool out there. Not the, okay,
Great.
yes, it is the best tool out there for UX design, in my opinion. Because it is a vector based tool. You can do a lot with Figma. So and Adobe XD and Sketch and all are also very good tools and very similar also. So a lot of people ask me which one should I learn. So I just tell them that learn any one of them. Pick Figma ideally, but learn any one of them, and then if let's say wherever you're going to work they're using some other tool, let's say they're using Adobe XD instead, you will just have to take another like 10 to 15 minutes to learn all the shortcuts and all the small things that you need to learn, and you will be like you'll be okay with that because you know how, because most of the tools are very very simple. So all you have to do is just learn how the which commands are different, and like how to like just navigate through the UI of the application. So that's how that's how it works, yeah. And obviously I would say that Figma is probably the best tool out there, so use that.
All right. I think we covered a lot of
So
questions
yeah,
today.
almost almost everything about UI UX. It was great
Yeah,
talking to you.
Yeah, it was
thank you
an
so much for
amazing
having
talk.
me. I mean, it was amazing talking to both of you as well. You were saying something, Shreya?
No, I was just go ahead.
Yeah, no. I'm like, I mean, I was the one who's talking the whole time, so
No, it was
uh,
wonderful listening to you
you
actually.
can talk now as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah, I was just saying that it was really very insightful. Like, I'm
I'm
sure it
glad
is
that
very insightful for beginners. Yeah,
Honestly,
I
I personally am interested in designing, and it was very helpful for me.
me too.
that's
Yep.
great. That's great. I mean, like yeah, I mean, a lot of people just don't know how to get started. There are a lot of videos on YouTube, but yeah, it's kind of a bit tricky these days. So I get it. I mean, I'm glad
Yeah.
that you found it helpful. And if you have any
Yes. Yes.
questions, you can always reach out to me through Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever. If you reach out to me through Twitter, it'll be better because that way you will receive a response. Otherwise, on LinkedIn, you might not. So, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Also, I think you guys can check out Michi Spotlight. It's a Discord
yeah.
server. It's an amazing community. I just recently joined, so yeah, I'd like to advocate that. Yep.
Definitely.
So
Thank you so much for advocating it. And I mean, if you want to join, if you want to learn, if we have a lot of UX designers, you have a lot of mentors. We give feedback to people as well. So, like I said, if you want to get feedback on your work, you can always post it on our server, and someone or the other will give you some feedback. So, yeah.
all right. On an ending note, do you want to add anything to that?
Any suggestions or anything before we
Oh,
end?
no, I mean, I gave all the suggestions during the session itself, but I would just say that I mean, when it comes to like jobs and all of this stuff, there's a lot of scope in UI/UX, and I think someone asked, what is the scope of UI/UX in Web3? So Web3 has the most scope in my opinion because Web3 developers are in desperate need of UX designers because I mean these are like just these are like new sort of applications and they need people to think about products and other stuff and they pay you very very well honestly like just to be frank there and it is very very helpful. It is absolutely like you can learn a lot and you can learn a lot about web3 and the crypto market itself through ux and all that, and more importantly like you would truly appreciate it for your work as well. So in my opinion like it's a pretty good there's a pretty good market out there. Like I said, a lot of startups are looking for ux designers and ux researchers, so this is a good field and it has a lot of scope in it. But yeah, like you have to choose whichever is best for you. I mean you can pivot at any point, but in my opinion try to code first if you are like a coder. But if you're not, if you are let's say a designer, then you can just start with ux design. But if you are a coder and if you think that you want to do coding, if any part of you thinks that you should do coding, do that. And then like parallelly you can also learn all of this stuff. But if you then feel ki, okay no this is like ux is something that is my true calling, then you can like pivot to it and start learning more about it. So yeah, that'll be helpful.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say as long as there is human interaction with like devices around us, there will be always demand for UI UX. That's never going down, right? Okay. Yep. So we'll wrap that here, and it was very, very, very nice talking to you, Vaishnavi. We had a lovely
Likewise.
time, and I hope everyone out there had too. And with that, we
Great
are ending
time.
this episode. Thank you. Bye.
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 Oh my God.